Now at 9, the Joplin Empire Market and the Downtown Joplin Alliance hold their 4th annual Chili Cook-Off. Plus, Pittsburgh area young professionals come together with local volunteers to participate in a litter cleanup on Highway 69.
Youth crime is raising alarm. I'm Mallory Rivera in Washington with what some of the nation's top law enforcement members have to say about it coming up. Youth crime is raising alarm. I'm Mallory Rivera in Washington with what some of the nation's top law enforcement members have to say about it coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Now at 9, the Joplin Empire Market and the Downtown Joplin Alliance hold their 4th annual Chili Cook-Off. Plus, Pittsburgh area young professionals come together with local volunteers to participate in a litter cleanup on Highway 69.
Youth crime is raising alarm. I'm Mallory Rivera in Washington with what some of the nation's top law enforcement members have to say about it coming up.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Cale Chapman. Some Joplin residents came together for a chili cook-off today at the Empire Market. The 4th annual chili feed brought 8 contestants together to share their chili recipes with the community. Judges and visitors both contributed to the vote for the best chili. The competition also included a wooden spoon trophy for whichever contestant used the most market ingredients. Director of the Empire Market says during the winter months, people may get out of the habit of going to the market, which is why events like this are important.
Especially after the holidays, there's just kind of like, there's not really a lot going on after the busyness and the fun times of holidays. So we're like, what can we do to make winter a little bit more enjoyable from those like January to March months?
Joplin professional firefighters placed first in the judges contest. All top 3 winners donated their earnings back to the Empire Market. The George Washington Carver National Monument Park is showing off some of their findings from their archaeological investigation program. After the park became established, there were some areas that they found archaeological findings in that could show life back when George Washington Carver was alive. A lot of these items were found from the area of a cabin where George Washington Carver was allegedly born in. Park guide Ryan O'Connell says archaeology is an important part to understanding the past. Sure, yeah.
Especially after the holidays, there's just kind of like, there's not really a lot going on after the busyness and the fun times of holidays. So we're like, what can we do to make winter a little bit more enjoyable from those like January to March months?
George Washington Carver National Monument Park is showing off some of their findings from the Archaeological Investigations Program. After the park was established, there were some findings in the area that can show how life was like in George Washington Carver's time. A lot of these items were found from the area of a cabin where George Washington Carver was allegedly born. Park guide Ryan O'Connell says archaeology is an important part of understanding the past.
Things that we would consider trash today are artifacts that gives an idea of what the world yesterday used to look like. So even though we've got like broken crockery and some broken everyday pieces, they do tell a story about what life was like living on the frontier.
The free presentation will also be held tomorrow from 1 to 2 p.m. inside the park's visitor center. Earlier today, the Pittsburgh area young professionals and Pittsburgh Beautiful were joined by community members and city employees for a cleanup effort on Highway 69. The volunteers started in the north end of the bypass at the East Atkinson intersection and worked their way south.
I mean, I think the goal here today was just to be proud of Pittsburgh. It's where we live, it's where we're from. And we're not okay with this type of litter on the side of the highway. So the goal was to just organize, take care of it, prove that we can do it, and that any group who wants to accomplish something like this, just start a sign-up sheet, put it out on the internet, and you too can accomplish things like this.
The Pittsburgh area young professionals' next volunteer cleanup will be on Earth Day. Meteorologist Sam Lane joins us for a first look at the weather.
All right, thank you very much. We've got a lot to talk about tonight. On radar right now, we have a large area of snow from central Kansas up through northeastern Kansas. In fact, a winter weather advisory is in effect for those areas. Now starting to snow in Wichita, Emporia, also starting to get a little bit of a mixture west of Independence. Let's zoom in and show you a little bit closer in view. You can see some more rain developing in Nowata area right now. This is all moving to the north and east. And as we go through the overnight hours and early tomorrow morning, some of that rain could switch over to a mixture, especially as we head into around the 3 a.m. hour on towards morning with a low of 29 degrees. And looking down the lane, we're going to have a mix tomorrow morning and then a partly cloudy Monday, but then that's setting up the next storm system, which will move in on Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, and that could be a significant winter storm. I'll have all the details coming up in just a little while.
A major shakeup at the White House as Chief of Staff Ron Klain is reportedly expected to step down after 2 years as the president's gatekeeper. Meanwhile, today the president's lawyers announced that the U.S. Justice Department searched Biden's Wilmington home on Friday and found 6 additional documents with classified markings. Lucas Tomlinson is at the White House with the latest.
Ron Klain, the president's chief of staff, plans to resign in the coming days. That's according to multiple media reports, including the New York Times, who first reported this story. This comes as Democrats want to see the investigation into President Biden's handling of classified documents be ramped up.
I want the facts. I want the Department of Justice to be completely thorough, completely honest, and I want the facts.
We need to know who knew, when did they know, and why did they choose to keep it secret from the American people for, again, more than 2 months, and again, right before an election.
And now 2 Democratic senators, Tim Kaine and Joe Manchin, say they also want to see the classified documents investigated with more urgency. Senator Manchin telling our colleagues at Fox Digital, quote, "The reports about President Biden's mishandling of classified documents are extremely irresponsible and disturbing. These allegations should be investigated fully." Joe Biden first arrived in Washington as a U.S. Senator 50 years ago this month when Richard Nixon was president. 4 years later, Biden sank Jimmy Carter's pick to lead the CIA over the nominee's illegal possession of classified documents he had taken with him from the White House years earlier to write a book. President Biden had declined to comment about his classified documents when repeatedly asked by reporters. Then the president spoke quite candidly on Thursday, making the following claim.
I think you're going to find there's nothing there. I have no regrets. I'm following what the lawyers have told me they want me to do. It's exactly what we're doing. There's no there. Thank you.
President Biden's approval rating has dipped to around 40%, near the lowest of his presidency. At the White House, Lucas Tomlinson, Fox News.
White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain is reportedly about to step down in the coming weeks. Klain has spent more than 2 years as President Biden's top aide. His expected departure would occur not long after the Democrats did better than expected in the midterm elections this November. The Chief of Staff's time in office is the longest of anyone who served beside a Democratic president in modern times. Klain is expected to leave his post sometime after President Biden's State of the Union address on February 7th. Criminals seem to be getting younger and younger. Even though national data says juvenile arrests are down, the perception is quite the opposite. Local officials say there is still a cause for alarm. Fox News correspondent Madeline Rivera reports from Washington.
After battling rising crime, the nation's capital is getting some reprieve. D.C. closed out 2022 with a 10% drop in homicides compared to the previous year. But local officials say they're tackling another emergency, violence among youth. And they argue access to illegal guns is to blame.
A lot of them, their first offense, their first introduction into the criminal justice system has been a firearm-related offense. And that is a very staggering thing.
Carjackings are also a problem. This brazen attack on a then-candidate for D.C. City Council last January fueled fears that more young people were committing crimes, a concern the police chief in neighboring Montgomery County shares.
And although, yes, we've seen an increase with juveniles, again, we've seen adults, again, be involved in these types of cases as well.
However, Justice Department data shows the number of youths being arrested for violent crime reached a new low in 2020, dropping 67% since 2006. President Biden is crediting the efforts of local leaders.
Many cities from Newark, New Jersey, to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, but all kidding aside, have made major investments in community violence intervention initiatives. These studies have shown in some cases they can reduce violent crime up to 60%, particularly among our youth.
Still, police say there's more work to do.
A large portion of where we have to really put our focus on prevention is helping young people understand how to better remediate problems.
Overall, people younger than 18 accounted for 7% of all arrests for violent crime in 2020, falling from 14% in 2010. In Washington, Madeline Rivera, Fox News.
KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14 takes this time to honor another four-state hero. Frank Miles served in the U.S. Army from 1943 to 1945. The Chautauqua, Kansas native fought in the European theater in World War II. As part of the 3rd Battalion, 331st Infantry, Miles was involved in D-Day and the Battle of Normandy. Miles was awarded the World War II Victory Ribbon Good Conduct Medal, EAME Theater Ribbon, Silver Service Star, and Bronze Star Medal. To Master Sergeant Frank Miles, we salute you, our four-state hero. Later on in sports, Carl Junction takes on Kickapoo in the Bill Hanson Memorial Tournament. Jacob Leonard will have the highlights. It's not a baby boom, it's a baby bust. A study published in Population and Development Review suggests the U.S. fertility rate is at its lowest since the 1970s, with mothers now having 1.7 kids on average. Researchers say young people still want about as many kids as their parents, but they're having a harder time achieving life benchmarks, like finding a partner or being financially stable, so they delay childbearing. A U.S. Census report shows that the median age of having a baby has shifted from 27 in 1999 to 30 in 2019. A new Gallup poll finds a majority of Americans are not impressed with the nation's healthcare system. According to the 2022 Annual Health and Healthcare Survey, 52% of participants believe healthcare in the United States is subpar. This is the first time healthcare in the U.S. has not been rated good enough in the poll's 20-year history. 21% believe it's poor, which is a record high. A new HIV vaccine failed in late-stage trials, according to researchers on Wednesday. Trials for the drug Mocasio started in 2019. Around 3,900 men and transgender individuals between the ages of 18 and 60 received 4 injections over a 12-month period. The vaccine was deemed safe, but infection rates were similar between the placebo and vaccine groups. 38.4 million people live with HIV as of 2021, with still no cure. Meteorologist Sam Lane is next with a complete look at the forecast. And later, a new ban is put into place over the recent issue of egg smuggling over the border. Coming up, what a new report says about the rise in airlines bumping their passengers during travel. The U.S. is seeing an increase in egg smuggling across the Mexican border, according to U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Many Americans are heading down south to buy eggs, which average around $3.40 for a carton of 30. In December, the average cost of a dozen eggs at the U.S. was $4.25. Federal law bans uncooked eggs from being brought across the border, as Customs has reported a 108% increase in seized poultry products. The fine for egg smuggling can range between $300 and $10,000. Airline passengers dinged up by bad weather and airline and federal system messes still have more continued miseries. A Wall Street Journal airline scorecard says more U.S. passengers are being bumped from regular flights from October 21 through September of 2022. This data showed rates of denied boardings more than doubled compared to the same period the year before. Airlines frequently oversell flights to compensate for no-shows. Bumpings also happen when carriers switch aircrafts that have fewer seats than planned. Southwest Airlines has agreed to pay pilots an estimated $45 million in bonus gratitude pay. This is in return for working through the company's service meltdown during the holiday travel period at the end of last year. Other Southwest employee groups who worked through the period will also receive compensation, although the airline didn't specify how much. Southwest has about 9,400 pilots. Uber wants to add custom-built electric vehicles to its fleet. Uber's CEO says the company is working with automakers to develop EVs for deliveries and ride-hailing. Future vehicles may have 3 wheels and lower top speeds. The seats could also be designed to allow passengers to sit facing each other. Uber says it plans to offer rides in electronic vehicles in Europe and the U.S. by 2030. Up next, the new creation that Mountain Dew is coming out with, inspired by their popular Baja Blast drink. Mountain Dew is turning one of its iconic flavors into a hot sauce. The soda company is partnering with hot sauce maker iBurn to create a Baja Blast flavor. The unique sauce is not for sale, but fans can enter to win one of the 750 limited edition bottles on MountainDew.com. The contest ends on February 8th. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports are coming your way. Coming up, a year after a deadly shooting, Alec Baldwin is set to restart his movie Rust amidst his manslaughter charges. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is pleading for more German-made tanks from 50 of the world's top defense officials Friday. The U.S. has said that it will not send M1 Abrams tanks overseas, but has pledged hundreds of armored vehicles instead, in addition to another $2.5 billion in military aid. Fox News correspondent Alex Hogan is live in Kyiv, Ukraine, with the latest on the fighting.
Here today, the city of Kyiv mourning the loss of 14 lives, people who were killed in a helicopter crash earlier this week. Of those on board was the country's interior minister, making him the highest-ranking official to die since the start of the war. Loved ones and members of the government gathered for hours inside a cultural center in Kyiv for the funeral service, including Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky visibly crying during this emotional service. Russia today claims that it has managed to seize another eastern village in Ukraine, moving closer in on the contested town of Bakhmut. This is one of several territories that Moscow claims to have seized since last week. Russian rockets also rained down this morning on this village in the Donetsk region, creating craters and blowing out windows of homes. Ukrainian forces in Donetsk are calling for more weaponry, specifically tanks. Although at a meeting of NATO's Ukraine Defense Contract Group in Germany yesterday, there was no movement on that front. Berlin has not signed off on sending Leopard 2 tanks, and Washington unveiled its second largest aid package this week, worth about $2.5 billion. It's security assistance that does not include Abrams. U.S. Senators Lindsey Graham, Richard Blumenthal, and Sheldon Whitehouse visited Ukraine this week, meeting with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. All three of them say they support sending tanks here to Ukraine, a message they say they will bring back with them to the U.S. In Kyiv, Ukraine, Alex Hogan, Fox News.
Meteorologist Sam Lane joins us for a look at the weather.
Thank you very much, Cale. It was kind of a cloudy, cold, miserable day with lots of rain across our area, but at least we're not dealing with the snow just yet. That's still to come. It is snowing, though, in parts of central and eastern Kansas this evening, and some of this rain is going to be switching over to some snow in our area later on tonight. In fact, we're going to zoom in and show you where it's raining right now near Nowata and near Veneta. This is all moving to the north and east. So as we go through the overnight hours and temperatures get colder, we'll see some of that rain switching over or mixing with some snow. Not expecting any accumulations, that's good, with a low of around 29 degrees. But looking down the lane, things are going to be changing. A mix tomorrow morning, partly cloudy on Monday, and then a winter storm impacts our area late Tuesday into Wednesday. And of course, I'll have all the details on that coming up in the weather in just a little bit.
T-Mobile says a hacker stole the personal data of millions of its customers. The U.S. wireless carrier says addresses, phone numbers, and dates of birth of 37 million customers were accessed during a data breach in November. T-Mobile discovered the breach on January 5th and says the theft did not include passwords, bank account information, or social security numbers. The company says it is still investigating but believes the threat has been fully contained. It adds there is no evidence the hacker breached the company's network. Production is expected to restart on the movie Rust more than a year after a deadly shooting on set halted filming. This comes as Alec Baldwin, the film's lead actor and producer, will soon face involuntary manslaughter charges in connection to that shooting. The film's weapons specialist will also be charged. Fox News correspondent Alexis McAdams is in New York City with the details.
Right now, Alec Baldwin faces up to 6.5 years in prison if he's convicted. He was spotted here in New York City just in the past few days as he's facing charges of involuntary manslaughter for the shooting death of a cinematographer on the set of the movie Rust. The DA citing criminal disregard for safety as the reason for charging here. So the shooting happened back in October of 2021 here on this movie set in Santa Fe, New Mexico. These pictures were taken just moments after that fatal shooting. You can see Alec Baldwin there on the phone calling someone frantically. Authorities say Baldwin was pointing a pistol at Halyna Hutchins when the gun went off. Hutchins was killed and the movie's director was wounded. Halyna Hutchins was a wife and a mom. Her family seeking justice in this case as the special prosecutor tells Fox News that despite the massive amount of media attention surrounding this case, they're focused on finding the truth. The prosecutor says the FBI determined that Baldwin did pull the trigger on the gun, but it's a claim that he continues to deny.
Alec Baldwin, he is an A-list actor, and there's a lot of, hype around all that, but he isn't above the law. We're more concerned with getting justice for Helena Hutchins and also making it clear that these movies need to invest in safety. And on a low-budget film like Rust, safety is not something that needs to be compromised. And that's what happened here.
Baldwin's attorney says, in part to Fox News, Mr. Baldwin had no reason to believe there was a live bullet in that gun or anywhere on the movie set. He relied on the professionals with whom he worked, who had assured him that the gun did not have any live rounds. Reporting in New York City, I'm Alexis McAdams, Fox News.
Still ahead, we'll take a look at the preview of Fox's 911 Lone Star before it returns this week for another season. Coming up in sports, the Kansas City Chiefs aim to return to the AFC Championship game for the 5th straight season. Plus, a big comeback for the Carl Junction girls in the Bill Hanson Memorial Championship in Pittsburgh. Jacob Leonard has those highlights and more next. Fox's emergency responder drama 911 Lone Star returns with a big season 4 premiere Thursday. I said that wrong.
It's time to Cowboy Boogie with Blanco Brown at his free live concert. January 21st on the Legend stage at Downstream Casino Resort. Gonna do the two-step, then Cowboy Boogie. Grab a sweetheart. And don't miss the free shows every month on Legend Stage. Neon Union, February 25th. And Michigan Rattle.
Fox's hit emergency responder drama 911 Lone Star returns with a big season 4 premiere Tuesday. Star Gina Torres joins us for a preview and a look at what's coming up for the whole Texas team this season. Here's Fox's Ashley Dvorkin.
It's raining frogs! The 126 are back in action on Fox's 911 Lone Star with a wild weather phenomenon. Star Gina Torres says it's amazing to see how they create these scenes.
Everything that we portray on the show has either actually happened or can happen. It's also just not that if it can and if it will, but how are we going to do it? That's where you get the special effects crew and our camera crew, everybody just conspiring to make these moments happen and look as truthful and real as possible.
Those moments certainly brought unique elements this time.
I got up close and personal with a lot of frogs.
Let's talk about
Yes.
Captain Tommy Vega and where we find her season 4, both professionally and personally.
Professionally, she continues to be at the top of her game. She loves what she does. She's a natural at it. And then, yes, there's a little bit of a love interest on the horizon there with somebody who will be very familiar to a lot of people out there.
DB Woodside guest stars. It's a new chapter for Gina's character, who has had such a journey.
We get to walk with her during this period of loss and mourning and rediscovery and awakening.
Season 4 is an exciting one for the whole team, of course, Tarlos included.
There is a wedding in store for this season because, they all got engaged last season. There's a lot of deliciousness, all the stuff, all the reasons why you love 911 Lone Star, not just because of the epic rescues, but also because of the people that get to do them, the ones that you spend an hour with. Yeah, you'll get more of us.
We're back. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
Up next, how a young girl in Rhode Island plans to find out the truth about Santa Claus. A 10-year-old Rhode Island girl with a knack for detective work is determined to find out if Santa Claus is real. So she gathered evidence, treats she left for Santa and his reindeer, and contacted her local police department to see if they could take a DNA sample and investigate the case. RJ Heim has the story.
Cumberland, Rhode Island Police Chief Matt Benson was surprised when a package arrived just after Christmas. Inside, a letter from the 10-year-old telling them she took a sample of a cookie and carrots she left for Santa and the reindeer and was wondering if they could take a sample of the DNA and see if Santa's real.
It's an incredible first, and we're excited. We put together an evidence packet and sent it to the state forensic unit. We want to foster her curiosity and her investigative skills.
Her name was redacted by police because they hadn't reached out to the family yet, and the investigation is ongoing.
A surveillance image of clearly a reindeer in that vicinity that night. We do have information of an individual that was observed in the area matching the description of what people would consider would be Santa Claus. We've tracked that individual down, and we're hoping to interview him maybe this week or next.
Just then, a hit on social media from the girl's mom, thanking the Cumberland police for picking up the case. Doing our own investigative work, we tracked down the family, called the mom. She said, "Come on over."
She's always a little bit skeptical and looking for the facts.
Meet budding detective Scarlett D'Amato, who has her own lab of sorts at home.
I watch crime shows, and I thought it was cool to be a detective.
4th grade and 10 years old, too early to be thinking about a career? Yeah. The open case is being pursued by Cumberland police that promise to get to the bottom of the mystery.
Maybe there was a debate that needs to be settled, but and we'll do our part to believe and keep that dream alive.
What would you like the verdict to be?
That he's real.
Well, I hope they get some answers.
Well, we tracked him on radar.
We did, yeah.
There you go. And he likes snow, I know that, and we have some of that in our forecast. Late tonight and tomorrow morning, an AM mix, and then a better chance of snow on Tuesday into Wednesday. Significant accumulations are possible, and then a cold rain next weekend, switching over to maybe some more snow in the extended forecast. So lots of chances of winter-like precipitation, but of course it is January, and we kind of got spoiled here lately, but winter is definitely making a comeback.
Well, there you go. That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We'll leave you with a video of a polar bear at the Utah Zoo rolling around in the snow. We'll see you back here next time. Thanks for making us a part of your night.
In America, the future belongs to everyone. So we engineered the truck of the future for everyone. Ford F-150, available with a Pro-Power onboard generator and a variety of cab configurations for whatever you need to haul. Because the truck of the future isn't created for just a few. It's for America. Ford F-150. Drive one today. Now, get a new Ford F-150 with 0% financing for 36 months. Only at your Midwest Ford dealers. Hurry in today.
The advisors at McGavran Financial Group have been helping people invest today for a more enjoyable tomorrow since 1984. In Joplin, see Earl or Mike. In Pittsburgh, see Earl or Steve. McGavran Financial Group. Invest today, enjoy tomorrow.
Federal Upland loads available at John Sports Center, Pittsburgh.
I'm Travis Kelsey, and I'm proud to partner with Aaron Sachs and Associates.
Our family is no less than any other family.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
This is your halftime update. I'm Cale Chapman. Some Joplin residents came together for a chili cook-off today at the Joplin Empire Market. The 4th annual chili feed brought 8 contestants to share their chili recipes with the community. Judges and visitors both contributed to vote for the best chili. The competition also included a wooden spoon trophy for a contestant that uses the most market ingredients. The director of the Empire Market says during the winter months, people may get out of the habit of going to the market, which is why events like this are important.
We try to come up with some kind of fun and engaging activities and events for people to remember that, we're still here, we're still open, we still have vendors who are selling produce and meat and eggs and bread, and this just is kind of an extra thing to get people to visit the market on a weekly basis.
Joplin professional firefighters placed first in the judges contest. All top 3 winners donated their earnings back to the market. And earlier today, the Pittsburgh area young professionals and Pittsburgh Beautiful were joined by community members and city employees for a cleanup effort on Highway 69. The volunteers started on the north end of the bypass at the East Atkinson intersection and worked their way south.
I think the goal here today was just to be proud of Pittsburgh. It's where we live, it's where we're from. And we're not okay with this type of litter on the side of the highway. So the goal was to just organize, take care of it, prove that we can do it, and that any group who wants to accomplish something like this, just start a sign-up sheet, put it out on the internet, and you too can accomplish things like this.
The Pittsburgh area young professionals' next volunteer cleanup will be on Earth Day. Enjoy the rest of the game.
Well, friends, it was a little bit of a raw, chilly day out there with the rainfall and the cold temperatures, and it's only a harbinger of things to come, and we'll get to that in our forecast. But first, let's take a look outside at Seneca, Missouri with the Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. The pavement is wet down there as they've had some showers and rain off and on during the day, as most of the area has. And we take a look at the almanac. We only made it up to 46 today after starting out at 28. The normals are 45 and 25, so we were pretty close to that. Nowhere near the records of 73 and minus 11. Radar right now is still showing some snow across central Kansas, extending up towards Kansas City. Some of the snow is now starting to move into our northern counties and mixing over with some snow. Winter weather advisory is in effect for parts of Kansas until midnight. Let's zoom in. We're going to zoom out first and show you the big storm system as it pulls out into the plains. We're expecting this to continue to move to the east, and as it does, cold air will spill in from the north, and that is what we're expecting, the changeover from rain to mix over with a little bit of snow. Temperatures right now are generally in the 30s, but notice up to the north and west, it's getting colder. 36 in Yates Center, 34 in Iola. Notice also the winds are starting to turn more to a northerly direction, helping filter in that colder air. Temperatures this evening are generally slightly warmer tonight than they were last night, but dew points are up as well, with dew points generally in the mid to upper 30s across our area. In fact, in Joplin right now, we're sitting at 38 degrees with an east wind at 8, so it feels like 32 out there with a dew point of 34, and the humidity is pretty high at 86%. Rain chances are going to be pretty high this evening, but notice they drop off significantly as we go through the overnight hours, and then we'll have that chance of mixture as we go into the morning hours. Not expecting any accumulation with this system. Different story on the next system that's coming down the pike. All right, let's take a look at the forecast for tonight. You can see winds turning around to the north and west, with lows generally in the 30s and 20s, especially up towards the north and west. Then tomorrow we're going to see highs in the upper 30s to lower 40s with northwesterly winds, with that storm system moving out of here. Then as we go into Monday morning, we're going to see lows generally in the 20s with light and northerly winds. And then as we go through Monday afternoon, we're going to see temperatures in the lower 40s, but notice the clouds are going to start to increase once again from the west, and that's ahead of the next storm system that's going to be impacting our area on Tuesday evening. And by Tuesday morning, we're going to see lows pretty much in the 20s. Now, I'm going to show you this map, but please don't put this in stone. This is a forecast of what the snowfall is expected to be after the second storm. Keep in mind, a slight deviation in the track could move the axis further to the north and west or further to the south and east. But right now, I think around 4 inches here in the Joplin area, higher amounts along and south of I-44, down in northwestern Arkansas and south central Missouri, maybe around 8 inches over in Branson. But we're going to be updating that map as we go through time. Here's tonight's storm system. That moves away, then the big system drops down into the deserts of the southwest and then pulls out into our area Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. That's when we expect the big snowstorm to be impacting our area. Then the cold air starts to spill in behind that, and yet another storm system on the heels of that one. So we have lots of chances of snow in our forecast, starting with tomorrow morning, a slight chance. Then as we go into Tuesday night and Wednesday morning, better chance of snow, and then yet another storm system next weekend with, yes, another round of winter-like precipitation with temperatures in the 30s.